The Pentagon says more than 20 countries have agreed to participate in a US-led coalition in the Red Sea to stop Houthi attacks. The Red Sea is one of the world's most important shipping routes for oil and gas between Asia and Europe. In the south, the narrow al-Mandeb Strait between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula connects the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden. 12% of the world's trade and 10% of global oil carried by ships goes through the strait. The Suez Canal connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. It is the shortest shipping route between Europe and Asia. 15% of the world's maritime traffic passes through the Suez Canal. Since November, the Houthis have targeted vessels near Bab el-Mandeb, forcing major shipping and oil companies to suspend operations through the Red Sea. Rerouted vessels will have to make a longer journey all the way down the east coast of Africa via the southern tip of the continent. Well, Des Roches is a professor at the National Defense University and former Pentagon Director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs, and he's joining us on Skype from Washington, D.C. Very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. We'll start with the U.S. saying that it's shot down 4 drones launched by the Houthis that were headed towards one of its warships. Are the U.S. and other members of this newly formed maritime force, are they going to be fighting Houthis in the Red Sea now? How worrying is this new front?
Well, it's not a new front. I mean, we've seen since the October 7th attacks and then the subsequent war in Gaza, we've seen drones and missiles shot down by U.S. ships, by Saudi land forces, by Israeli land forces, by a British ship, and by a French ship. So there's kind of a multinational effort against, this attempt to disrupt civilian maritime traffic. The only difference is now there's a formal U.S.-led escort coalition that will allow ships to move under military protection, and there's an alternate French-led one that will probably do the same thing. So it's not really a new thing.
Yeah, how multinational is this US-led maritime task force? Spain, Italy and France have pulled out of it. The US's allies, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, aren't joining it. What does it mean for its credibility in the region?
Well, that's a fair point, but most of my experience is in the Army. In the Army, if you're going to operate in an area, you have to have unified command. Otherwise, you have people shooting each other. At sea, operations are basically ship to ship. And so you don't really have to have formal command to escort ships. I think that if you actually track the ships rather than looking at who's in the coalition, you'll see that these countries are all performing the same mission and they're able to do it relatively seamlessly. So politically, perhaps that's not as effective as the Biden administration would hope for. But in terms of actual events on the ground, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. If you track the ships, you'll see everybody's doing the same thing, and that's trying to ensure maritime traffic flows in spite of Houthi disruption.
So you don't think then that this new US-formed task force is going to make the situation in the Red Sea any more dangerous?
No, it's going to make it better. I mean, right now what you have are ships performing different missions. So one of the ships that shot down a lot of the Houthi drones and missiles is actually the USS Mason is actually assigned to counter piracy in the Gulf of Aden. By having an organized system of escorts, commercial carriers will be able to transit the Suez Canal, link up with the coalition, and then sail through the Bab el-Mandeb under international protection.
Mr. Des Roches, we've had a number, I think 12 of some of the world's biggest shipping companies are no longer taking this route. British oil giant, British Petroleum, also isn't. They made that decision before the US formed this task force. And since it's been formed, none of them have started using the route again.
Yeah, that's right. So, capital is cowardly. And I think that, it makes sense to avoid an area where there's a threat to see what happens and see how it takes hold. So I would expect it to take, some time before procedures are established and before there's a level of confidence. I mean, bear in mind, these are unarmed commercial ships that are being attacked with weapons of war in time of peace. That is a war crime. And they're of nations. They're flagged and crewed and owned by nations that have no connection with the conflict at all. So it's going to take a while to figure out what the capabilities are. These guys want risk. But the big loser here is Egypt, which is going to lose 30% of its hard currency assets from Suez Canal transit fees as long as this is closed.
Yeah, and yet Egypt is not joining the task force, and the Houthis are saying that they are only targeting vessels that are in any way linked to Israel. What do you make of the Pentagon saying that this Japanese-owned chemical tanker, which was struck off India's coast on Saturday, was targeted by a drone fired from Iran? That is a huge accusation, isn't it?
It's a serious accusation. I mean, all of the drones and missiles fired by the Houthis have Iranian origin. So, and in the past, Iran has tried to operate through its proxies, such as the Houthis, in order to basically deflect a direct attack upon them. But the Indian press is reporting that at least 2 Iranian ships were in close proximity. One of them, the Safiz, is a known Iranian intelligence asset. It was actually in the Red Sea for a number of years, and it was only 47 miles away from the targeted ship. The Iranian drones certainly have the range to attack this ship from there, and with on-site guidance provided by the Safiz and possibly by the other Iranian ship, the Analyst, it is quite possible that they did this, and it would certainly be in keeping with their MO. If Iran did attack it, I think they figured that because of the distance from Iran, it would be an unattributable attack. So, and that also keeps in with their past practice, for example, when they mined ships off Fujairah about 5 years ago.
All right. Well, we haven't heard from Iran, but it will be interesting to say what they have to say to that Pentagon accusation. That is David Des Roches joining us live from Washington, D.C. Great to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you.